Hi, I'm Ted Rubin here with Drew Neisser from the agency Renegade, a social media agency that's doing some really incredible, groundbreaking work in the social media space. Drew also happens to blog for Fast Company Blog, so he gets to see and speak to a lot of really unique people that are doing some really cool things and build and reports on case studies about successes with new initiatives. So I'd just like to introduce you to Drew. I'd like to talk to him a little bit about what it's like being a marketer in this social media obsessed world, and maybe what he sees coming in the second half of 2011 going into 2012.
Hi, I'm Drew Neisser. Nice to be with you today. So Ted wants to know what's going on in social media and what it's like being a marketer in social media. The answer is it's insane. Everything is evolving so quickly that just keeping up is a challenge. Fortunately, this is what we do full time, and it's even more of a challenge for our clients. So it's easier to stay one step ahead because it's such a dynamic marketplace. Specifically, clients are really starting to focus in on ROI and ask the question, how are we going to make this investment pay off? We're putting in time in terms of resources, we're putting in capital in terms of hiring agency partners, or doing it ourselves, we're building applications. How is this all going to pay out? But what's also interesting is that at the same time clients are asking for metrics and analytics, a whole industry is cropping up in terms of analytics, making it easier for people and companies like ourselves to actually demonstrate ROI.
You make a great point, Drew, about how things are changing so fast and how difficult it can be for companies to stay ahead and for you to stay up on things. What I'd like to ask you, I was at a breakfast yesterday, and American Express brought up a very good point that every day people are showing them new apps, new things, new ideas, and they don't even know which direction to turn in. You know, how do you handle that? Do you take a very strong hand in guiding your clients, or do you allow them to guide you?
You need a framework for assessing where you want to go with social media. So if you just define what success looks like from the very beginning, you say, okay, this is about SEO, or this is about customer service, or this is about crisis management, or this is about customer retention. When you define success, then you have filters built in, and it makes it a lot easier to figure out what you should be listening to, what opportunities you should be looking for, and what you can filter out, which is, I think, the biggest challenge we all face is what can we ignore?
You know, that's a great point about knowing what, Jeffrey Hazlett calls it conditions of satisfaction. And then you take it into the next step of what you're looking to accomplish, which is really important. What I'm curious about is, what I'm seeing is there are tools being made, but there are different things that mean success in all different areas. So how are you getting your clients, like what I find is a challenge is getting them to define what they want for each segment, and then understanding there isn't just one tool to match that. That unlike other types of normal digital, you measure it by sales, you measure it by click-throughs, you measure it by impressions. But here, I think we're defining a whole new sort of metrics, that there can be completely different success factors and things to measure for every part of the organization.
So what we have done is we work with the client first to define success, and define success is really in terms of their business goals at this moment and how social media can affect those goals. It's usually it's one of two categories, retention or acquisition, and once you've sort of defined where you want to go with that, it's a little bit easier to do a path. Next up is the brand audit. The audit really does a deep dive and starts to match what your success metrics are with the tools that you need to measure success. So if we're talking about retention, then we better be looking at engagement versus reach. What kind of retweets, what kind of likes, what kind of forwards are you getting and shares are you getting from the content that you're providing? If you're not getting those things, then you're probably not doing the retention job that you were hoping for. If it's about acquisition, then you really need some really good listening tools and something that people are calling master data management plans, where you can actually grab a lead and information from social and push it into your content management, your customer relationship management system.
Drew, I really appreciate you helping us a little bit from the marketer and the agency side of things. But just for one last thing, let's put your journalist hat on for a moment. Maybe you can tell me something interesting you're seeing out there, or give us a little bit of look at the inside.
So yeah, there's sort of two things I'll look at on a micro level and a macro level. Yesterday I published an article on Social Media Examiner that just compared two tools, Sprout Social versus TweetDeck, and I was amazed that there were over 500 tweets of the article and there were over 40 comments. There's a great deal of interest in the granular aspects of looking at social media on a daily basis. What are the best tools? I think what I learned from this is that there are a lot of good tools, and I think it takes a combination of tools. On a macro level, I think clients are really interested in communities again, and they're wondering, how do we manage communities? Is it only about Facebook and open communities, or closed communities in a sense, or should we also be looking for some open communities? And there's some new things happening in that area. This company called Renegade just launched a week ago. They may or may not be big, but it's the whole notion, I think, of communities, community management, and how a client, how a company can engage and sort of motivate and then sort of allow their army of fans to go out and do their bidding.
One last question, and this is a little bit of a selfish one, just trying to focus a little bit on myself and my own challenges. Sprout Social, how did you find that? I am addicted to TweetDeck, but find it's breaking down in the ability to track and do everything I'm looking for it to do, but I love a lot of the functionality. Should I just read the article, or is there something you can share with me?
Well, yes, you should read the article, of course. And for $9 a month, I think you'll be blown away by what you get from Sprout Social. I looked at about 10 different tools. It's funny, I got turned on to Sprout Social from somebody via social media. Somebody sent me an email and said, "Hey Drew, I thought this is the kind of thing you're looking at, you're interested in." I think one of the advantages of also being a journalist is that people tend to share these kinds of things with me as soon as they can, maybe with the hope that I'll actually write about it. In this case, I think we created a pretty good day for Sprout Social yesterday. But what was interesting in the comments, a lot of people, there were fans of Hootsuite, there were fans of TweetDeck, there were fans and then new fans actually in between the beginning of the morning and the afternoon went, tried the product, came back and made a comment on it, which suggests this is a pretty good, and I think you'll like the tool.
Thanks a lot, Drew. Really appreciate you being here. Everybody remember, it's all about relationships.